most recent version of Windows that you're going to be seeing on the CompTIA A+ is Windows 7. Windows 7 has a lot of people would almost call it the repaired version of Vista, and there's some fairly good argument for that. Windows 7's done a good job for a long time in terms of making a well-established number of systems out there, and just like with Windows XP and with Windows Vista, you need to know certain versions of Windows 7 to pass the A+. So let's march through those. The most basic version you can get is Windows 7 Starter. Windows 7 Starter is an extremely simplified version of Windows. It doesn't have a lot of the advanced display capabilities. The network functions are extremely simplistic. Really about the only thing you're designed to do with this is to bring up a basic desktop, run a very few number of applications, and get on the internet, and that's about it. The big version we like to see at home is Windows 7 Home Premium. Windows 7 Home Premium, while it can't join domains, certainly has Media Center built into it, and it makes for an excellent home theater system operating system. Now, if you're going to be heading to the office, you're probably going to be taking a look at Windows 7 Professional. Windows 7 Professional may not have home theater capabilities, but it does allow you to log into a domain, and it also has interesting features. For example, Windows XP mode. Windows XP mode is actually kind of cool because what it does, it allows you to create a virtualized copy of Windows XP for backward compatibility for applications that have a little trouble running in Windows 7. The fun version of Windows 7 is Windows 7 Ultimate. Basically, it's got everything. It can log into a domain, it's got Media Center, it's got Windows XP mode, and it also has BitLocker drive encryption. A really great way to be able to lock up your entire hard drive so that nobody can ever get to it. The last one is Windows 7 Enterprise. Windows 7 Enterprise is pretty similar to Windows Ultimate, but again, it's not available to the general public. In order to get a copy of Windows Enterprise, usually a large corporation will work out a deal with Microsoft and they'll install it across, say, 2,000 different computers. Make sure you know all these different versions of Windows 7. You're going to see it on the test. This is a Windows 7 Ultimate Desktop. This is a fresh install, fresh from the factory. I've thrown in a couple of programs, but for the most part, when you install Windows 7, this is exactly what it's going to look like. Let's take a look at the interface. First of all, once again, we have our desktop. The Start button's changed a little bit, but we still have our taskbar, and we have our notification area. Now, there's a couple of cool things in here. In particular, one of the things I love about the notification area is that I can go in and I can pick individual icons that I can hide or only have them show up when something exciting is happening. So I'm going to go here on my network and I'm going to say only show notifications. So if I suddenly get disconnected or something, I'll get a little pop-up window. All right. Now, the other really cool part that's new to Windows 7 is the idea of pinned icons. So I'm going to fire up a calculator here. And like any time you'll see with the program, it'll show up down here at the bottom of the screen because it's a running program. But I'm going to do something different this time. Now watch. What I'm going to do is right-click down here, and I'm going to pin the program to the taskbar. So at first, it doesn't look like much has changed. But watch what happens when I close Calculator. You'll see that the icon for the calculator is still there. This is actually kind of convenient. So anytime there's a particular program you like to run, why just come in here and pin it to the taskbar, and it's ready for you. The next thing I'd like to show you is Windows Explorer itself. Windows Explorer has changed quite a bit in Windows 7. In particular, you'll notice on the left-hand side, we still have our quick links to some of the favorite places we like to go. Now, one of the things we have with Windows 7 are called libraries. Now, other episodes go into libraries in great detail, but for right now, appreciate the fact that libraries are nothing more than groups of folders that you choose to group together because they make sense to you. So a library is one or more folders that's just a quick click to get to it. We also have home groups, which in other episodes we'll discuss in more detail to show you how it's a very cool kind of home networking, as well as access to your computer and your network itself. Searching takes on a whole new meaning when it comes to your computer. I can actually go in and just use this search bar. See if we can find something really fun to locate. And let the search bar itself locate different items. There we go. So I did a quick search for the word hosts, and I found some files with the name hosts in them simply by clicking in there. It's an incredibly convenient tool. We can always change our views, of course. Let me get out of this view and back into a regular computer. So if you want to, you can change your views for tiles. You can break it down into content, and particularly nice, especially when you're dealing with graphics, are extra large icons. Those are really handy when you've got a bunch of pictures and you're trying to get an idea of what you're looking for. So me, I usually tend to stick with list more than anything else. I've been running in basic mode right now, but what I'd like to do next is go ahead and kick it into Aero. Now, Vista may have started Aero, but Windows 7 really took it to the next step. There's a lot of new features in Windows 7 Aero that you don't see in Vista. Let's take a look at some of them. So first of all, let me get a couple of, I got all these programs running. So I've got 3 different windows opening. So things like Flip 3D are still there. No problems there whatsoever. But there's a few more extra features that are actually kind of cool. In particular, we have Aero Peak. Now if you look way down here in the corner, I can just hover over this and it makes a transparency of all my open windows. I can double click on it and close everything, and double click it again and bring them all back. This is a lot better than the old show desktop that we used to see in Windows XP, and I love Aero Peak. But it doesn't stop there. The next thing I want to show you is Snap. Now, Snap works like this. What I can do is I can take a window and I can drag it either to the top or to one of the sides, and it snaps the window in place. So this is really particularly nice when you have 2 different windows opening. I can also use it, drag it up to the top, and make things full screen. So that is Snap. Let's get these guys back into order. Now if you have a lot of different programs running, one that's kind of nice, it's like, well, I want to look at just this window right here. So if you want to look at just this window and close everything else, give it a shake. And that is what we call Aero Shake. So Aero Shake, just by shaking one particular window, will go ahead and minimize everything else. Now there is one other aspect. While Aero Peak is exactly as I showed you, the other feature that I call Aero Peak is if I have 2 or more windows open on a particular application, simply by hovering over the open application, I can see more than one at once. It's actually pretty impressive. You could even have a YouTube video open or something. You can actually see the animation taking place in there, because that's all part of what we call Peak. Now, gadgets have taken on a whole new meaning when it comes to Windows. The old sidebar that we knew from Windows Vista is gone. Well, it's not really gone, but it's kind of integrated. And instead now, if we want to open up a gadget, I could just right-click on the desktop, and here are the built-in gadgets. One I particularly like is a CPU meter. So now I've got this CPU meter open. Actually, this is a great little gadget, by the way. If you want to just track to see your CPU usage, this is a wonderful little guy. But you'll notice that unlike Vista, where I was kind of locked into the sidebar, I can put a gadget anywhere that I want. And if I want to close a gadget, I can just hit close. Windows 7 definitely made a number of improvements on the desktop that, well, to be honest with you, I really like. Windows 7, for me personally, has probably been my most favorite version of Windows ever. Now, with Windows 8 coming along, one of the things that's going to be kind of interesting you need to be aware of is that Aero is going to go away. Now, we still might be shaking and snapping, but at least when it comes to the classic Aero desktop, Windows 8 is going to bring on a whole new world. But don't worry about Windows 8, because it's not on the A+ exam.